Hello, I'm Coleman Mizell. This is Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
Welcome to more where that came from. More back-to-backs. More epic last laps.
Fell in hot pursuit.
More stripes. More short fuses. More bumps and bruises.
Go, 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 go. You'll be full wide. They're back behind you.
More Lone Star Showdowns.
That's all you, bro. Proud of you guys.
More Heartland Heartstoppers. Welcome to the edge of your seat. Welcome to NASCAR.
Roll Tide and welcome to this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover. Great to be with you from Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium inside our podcast studio at the Advantage Center, where we've had a great conversation in this room with Alabama Baseball's Coleman Mizell. More interviews coming up over the next few weeks from here inside the Advantage Center. But for today's show, we're going to be talking a little bit about NASCAR as well as Crimson Tide baseball and softball. We'll begin with what's coming up on the show thanks to our friends RJ Young. RJ Young is the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. Let's see what's coming up on the show this afternoon. Well, first of all, speaking of NASCAR, we will talk to the winner of the most recent Cup Series race, Austin Cindric. He won in Talladega, a dramatic finish in the Jack Links 500. He'll join us to not only talk about that win at Talladega, but also getting to interact with Alabama football players such as Ryan Williams, Jalen Mbakwe, Justin Jefferson, Drake Kirkpatrick Jr. Great conversation to begin the show talking NASCAR with Austin Cindric. Then we'll talk to one of the heroes of the Alabama baseball series against Missouri, Coleman Mizell. A fun conversation with him about growing up an Alabama fan in Hartselle and getting to live out his dreams, getting to play for the Crimson Tide, and having a tremendous sophomore season. Then we'll take a look back to this past weekend for Alabama baseball and softball. Clean sweeps for both programs against Missouri, with some booth camp highlights presented by MLB The Show at 25. Speaking of the baseball team, that clean sweep against Missouri, game one a little dramatic. Alabama fell early in that ball game 5-0 on Thursday, but then pieced their way together thanks to home runs by Will Hodo as well as Garrett Staten. Then our guest for today, Coleman Mizell, the go-ahead two-run shot in the eighth inning would be the difference, and Alabama really never looked back from there, including getting a run rule win in the Saturday finale at the Joe. Now this weekend, no midweek game for final exams this week, but it will be Alabama at Vanderbilt in a three-game series coming up, and it's a top 25 series. Alabama currently ranked number 18. I mentioned Will Hodo, great performances by him, not only against Missouri, but in the midweek game against Samford the previous Tuesday. He has been named the D1 Baseball SEC Extra Player of the Week. Congratulations to Will Hodo on that honor from D1 Baseball. For the softball team, also, it's nice to have the Missouri Tigers in town, picking up 3 solid victories over the weekend at Rhodes Stadium in what is the home regular season finale. Now this weekend, the Crimson Tide will be at South Carolina to wrap up the regular season before getting set for the SEC tournament. Alabama ranked in a variety of different spots in different polls, the highest ranking for the Crimson Tide checking in at number 13. And we want to say congratulations to Coach Murphy, his staff, all the players, for the home atmosphere that's been built at Rhodes Stadium. Once again, over 100,000 fans at home this past year. Another great milestone for Alabama softball. For football, the legacy continues of getting first-round draft picks. Thanks to Tyler Booker, Jahad Campbell for being selected on Thursday night. Overall, 7 players selected in the NFL draft. Many more signing some free agent contracts, so we look forward to tracking their progress and the National Football League. Congratulations to everybody involved with the NFL draft for Alabama football. Men's tennis, they're moving on to the NCAA tournament after a solid showing at the SECs. Congratulations to track and field Samuel Ogazi. He has been named the SEC runner-up the week. And then men's golf had a great finish at Sea Island, Georgia at the SEC tournament, going to the semifinals where unfortunately they fell in the semifinal match, but still a very good showing, and Alabama golf in really good position getting ready for the NCAA tournament. But here on the show, Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. NASCAR has been such a good presenting sponsor of the show for the last several years, and they always give us the chance to catch up with some winners from the NASCAR Cup Series, and that includes this week's winner, Austin Cindric. He's been really the talk of NASCAR this past week, but certainly for his performance, picking up the victory in Talladega. He joins us now to talk about that win, that tight finish at Talladega, plus getting to interact with some Crimson Tide football players. See the car right behind me. Austin Cindric, you won the photo finish in Austin. Roll Tide, it's great to have you on the show. Just describe everything that went into your victory on Sunday.
Yeah, it's for us, it's a huge day because,
a win in the NASCAR Cup Series, locks you into the playoffs, and that's 17 weeks away, but it's what you work your whole season for. So super excited about that. But it's more than just a win, the playoff spot. Those types of races, even Talladega specifically, we've come really close as a team and brought some really fast race cars, and it's rare that at that track you can put together a total team win, execution on all levels. And I feel like that's what we did on Sunday. Every man did their job and at an exceptional level. So it's really satisfying for me to be part of a team like that, and obviously do my part to get it all done and have a really exciting finish.
It was a different race than some other Talladega races we've seen before. So many green flag laps towards the end, not as many cautions or big wrecks, anything like that. So how did you and your team kind of manage your pit strategy, making sure you were good to go for the final laps?
Yeah, I mean, I think just being as efficient as possible, and that was definitely one of the keys for us there, being able to come on pit road, be able to go through that stop. I think we had the fastest stop there on that cycle, and execute everything there. And from that point, I'm controlling the race. So as the leader of the race, you want it to be the most boring 15 laps run to the checkered ever. And honestly, it was difficult for guys to make it through the field, and that's exactly what you want. I mean, I feel like that's me doing my job in a lot of ways. So, for us, it's huge to be able to execute like that and be able to be rewarded for it.
Yeah, it really was a great victory for you. Again, a very tight finish with Ryan Preece right at the very end. Just if you could walk us through that final lap from your perspective, what were the key moments you felt like helped give you the victory?
Yeah, well, I think one, just Ryan getting clear, some of the Hendrick cars there, and for it to be kind of a Ford versus Ford finish, I feel like we've, like I said before, come close in a lot of ways. I feel like as Fords we have an advantage with our dark horse Ford Mustang going to this track, and it's great to be able to finally get it done. But it got to the point where I was pretty confident it was going to be one of the two of us, and it obviously was, and at that point, the laps are winding down, and you're kind of just taking receipts every time of where is the car on the outside of me, where's the 60 at the start finish line versus where I am, what push did I get to make that happen, and you're kind of trying to replicate the times that you've had success until you get to the white flag lap, and then it's okay. This race is going to be official. You have to be the leader. A wreck could happen at any time, so nothing is guaranteed, right? And I felt like it was going to be pretty 50-50 from what I had watched the laps before, and there were some lap cars that they were starting to catch as a pack, and I was starting to get nervous about it. But then I realized how big of an opportunity it was, because I started to kind of get a draft off of them, and I felt like the bed was made there once we got kind of off of turn 4. So I felt really good about that. It was nice to not have any question whatsoever of who won the race there, and I was super happy to be able to celebrate with my team.
Yeah, great celebration for you and the team. Just how rewarding was it to get to share that with your teammates, and then also just everything that comes with winning at Talladega?
Yeah, I mean, Talladega it's one of those racetracks that you don't necessarily have to be a NASCAR fan to have heard of before. So it's cool to be able to win big events. Going to Talladega is a big event. It's an event. We go there twice a year, and it's hard to do something twice a year that's as special as what goes on at Talladega. And what goes on at Talladega is a lot more than the race. The atmosphere, the fan, the crowd. It's all very unique to any other thing that I've ever seen in sports. So I think it's fun to be able to experience that. Fun to be able to experience that atmosphere. Obviously as the main event, but to be able to go out and win that thing and be able to do it with all my guys and the celebration, it's doesn't get much better.
It really was exciting too to see the larger. You get the trophy, of course, but then the wreath that you wore to the press conference afterwards. You said your goal was to get that on the plane. Did you make it happen after the race was over? After you left the track?
Yeah, I did keep that thing on for hours, and I did make the executive decision that it was safer to be transported back to here Charlotte, North Carolina, over the road instead of on the plane. So it was cool. I really do love traditions like that, because it is very old school, the wreath, the flowers, and all that. And it's one of the cool things that really sets that place apart.
You mentioned getting the win and having that certainty about the playoffs is important, but how will you guys use this in the next few weeks? So with some really important races coming up, how will you use this momentum?
Yeah, well, I think right out the windshield here, we've got a lot of 1.5-mile race tracks that we're probably not going to get to see again until later in the season. So I think this is going to be a good audit for us on where we stack up. I felt like Vegas and Homestead tracks, in a similar size and speed to where we'll be going pretty much throughout the month of May. We had pretty good events there, actually really good events, if you include Vegas there. So I wouldn't say my expectations are high, but, being able to apply what we've learned to some of these other maybe more unique racetracks with Texas and Charlotte coming up being two, maybe you deal with more ride quality, more issues, and maybe Kansas, it's quite a bit smoother. So just looking forward to seeing what we can apply and learn. And, obviously the goal is to go out and win more races. That helps our chances in the playoffs, gets us more playoff points. And that's the goal every week.
You gained a lot of fans on Sunday in Talladega for your performance, but specifically from some guys we know, members of the Alabama football team. Just first of all, before even the race began, you had a great opportunity to take a few football players out, guys like Ryan Williams, Drake Kirkpatrick Jr., and Jalen Mbakwe. What was it like getting to interact with them and get to drive them around the track a few times?
Yeah, definitely a very cool experience for those guys. We got a Ford Mustang lined up early race day morning before, half the infield had probably woken up, and, those guys woke up early, came out to the track, and was able to kind of take them for a ride around the racetrack. Obviously not, going 200 mile an hour like my race car does, but I got it up, a little bit faster than they told me I could go. But, just give them perspective, because a lot of first time NASCAR fans or somebody who maybe hasn't seen a race before maybe doesn't get a perspective of the size of the racetracks or the speed, or even the banking. You talk about Talladega, and it's our biggest racetrack. It has some of the most banking that we go to. So even I kind of did the same thing for each as I got in the car, because I feel like I have to give them that perspective before they watch the race. Keep it simple. Like, this is the racetrack. Like, this is the flat road, and the car goes straight. This is 10 degrees of banking, and the car already wants to kind of fall down the hill and go left. And then you go up to 30 degrees, and the car is just completely tanking back to the left down the racetrack. And then you get up to about 130 mile an hour and go into the corner, and then all of a sudden they feel the G-forces. And then I explain to them, as I'm driving with my knee at these speeds, like I'm not even gonna be looking at the windshield. I'm gonna be looking in my mirror, looking here. I'm gonna be going high, going low. Like those are the things that it's hard to get perspective until you go do. And then I think once you see that or see a race in person, then you're like, oh, well, then you go do that with 40 other cars on the racetrack. It's super intense. No different than, throwing a football in my backyard is a lot different than a bunch of, 200, 300 pound, strong grown men running at you. Like I'm sure it's way different than just, tossing a ball. So it's a lot of fun to share what I get to do with those guys. I love football. I don't follow college football massively, so it's not like I have a team, so I didn't have any bias as far as do I like those guys or not. I know it's very divided in the state of Alabama as far as who's rooting for who, but no, it's definitely cool to get them involved and get their genuine reactions on what I love to get to do.
Yeah, I mentioned you, of course, got to interact with these Alabama football players. They also got to meet a guy like a Georgia fan and Chase Elliott, and they're trying to convert him to come to the Crimson Tide side of things. Are you maybe a convert now to the Crimson Tide after interacting with these guys?
Yeah, I think anytime you have a personal relationship with people, right, that if I'm going to be watching a game and it's Auburn, Alabama, I have no reason not to root for Alabama. Like, come on, like I know these guys and they come and hang out with me, so it's easy. So as far as that decision goes, that one's already been made. So it'll be cool to, and just like our sport is, like, once you have a personal connection with somebody, you find that favorite. That's what makes sports so good. Like I'm an Indianapolis Colts fan, through and through, and I get to meet a Colts player. It's like, okay, that just solidifies me being a Colts fan. If you don't have a favorite guy or a favorite team, sports aren't as fun to watch. And I think that's a perfect example of, I'm gonna be cheering you boys on for the upcoming season.
Yeah, not just those guys you got to talk to, but also some other members of the football team. Just a fun meet and greet, especially like you talked about. Those athletes know what it takes to compete at a high level in football. Did you love not only just around you, but also your entire pit crew? Bray Hubbard sat in the pit box most of the race. How cool is it for them to get to meet other members of your team?
Yeah, I think that's what's very hard to appreciate about our sport, is that you can watch a football game and look at the field and go, yep, these guys all have to work together towards a common goal to be successful. Whereas it's my name on the car, they call my name out when I win the race, but in reality, I just get to finish everybody else's hard work. I still have to do that. I still have to do my part. But like, the pit crew, the pit stops, the communication, even back here in Mooresville at the shop in North Carolina, I mean, we've got 300 people building these cars every week. So I'm sure they got a perspective of like, okay, this isn't just a dude in a car. Like, this is a whole crew of people that have to be really on the same page to make this all work. So I'm always very envious of especially football teams, because I feel like you can kind of extract a lot out of each other because you work side by side. Whereas, I'm kind of alone out there, and we do a lot of prep work together, and we don't get to share that experience in real time. So it's another one of those things that you really can't get a sense of until you go to a NASCAR race.
Well, here in Alabama, we like winners. Great winning tradition for the University of Alabama. Do you feel like that helped you pick up this victory after you met with those guys? And then Ryan Williams told you he wears number 2 for the Crimson Tide. He was rooting for number 2, you, as a result. Do you feel like that helped in the race?
I don't see why they shouldn't come to the next one. That's for sure. I'm not a big superstitious guy, but keep it coming until it doesn't work.
Well, Austin Cindric, congratulations on the victory at Talladega. Thank you for interacting with the Crimson Tide football players like you did, and we're going to be rooting you on the rest of the season. Best of luck with what's ahead. Thank you.
Awesome. Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Tune in to the NASCAR Cup Series this weekend at Texas Motor Speedway, coming up on Sunday, May 4th at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1. From a NASCAR winner to now a winner on this campus for the Crimson Tide baseball team, Coleman Mizell. He's getting to live out a dream each and every time he puts on that Script A ball cap. He has joined us here inside the podcast studio at the Advantage Center to talk about his rise from Hartselle to Tuscaloosa to play for the Crimson Tide and what we can expect from Rob Vaughn's team coming up over the next few weeks as they chase down some SEC and NCAA tournament success. Here's a fun conversation with Bull Coleman Mizell. Roll Tide, and welcome back to the Advantage Center inside Saban Field. This is Roger Hoover at our podcast studio. Now, pleased to be joined by Alabama baseball's Coleman Mizell, coming off a great series for the Crimson Tide against the Missouri Tigers as he rounds into the later stages of your sophomore season. Coleman, first of all, Roll Tide. How's everything going for you?
Roll Tide. Everything's going great.
Well, we certainly enjoyed this past week the Missouri series for Alabama. A huge series win. Just talk us through game one. Alabama's trailing in that ball game 5-0 pretty much from the jump. How'd you guys work your way back in that game, culminating in your home run in the 8th inning?
Yes, sir. Tyler Fay started that game, who had just now been starting to start games for us and had a rough start to the first inning. But ultimately, if after those first 15 to 20 pitches, he really threw a really, really great game. I think I don't remember exactly the stat line, but I think he gave us 5 or 6 innings, which not ultimately helped us win that game, but helped our bullpen be set up for the next 2 games in order to where we can save Carson Osmer and be able to throw Matthew Heiberger on 2 days whenever he's thrown 1 inning each day, which is huge in the grand scheme of things. So just being able to do that in order to help us as a team win the game. And then offensively, it was a little bit of a struggle at the beginning, and then we just kept stacking runs together. And Coach Vaughn always does a really good job of telling us that obviously it's impossible to hit a 5-run home run. So just taking it, just cutting into it each and every inning and doing everything you can to get it up to where you can set it up in the late innings to have a chance to win, and you're not chasing 5 or 6 runs in the 8th inning. You're chasing 1 or 2, which is a huge difference in the way the SEC is. And even like a team like Missouri that doesn't have any conference wins, they still have really, really quality arms that are running out there, just like every team that we play. So then in the 8th inning, I think it was Torres leading off that inning. He drew a leadoff walk, which was huge. And then Will Hodo, I think it was Will Hodo. Will Hodo got a walk as well, and then runners advance. Or no, one of my best friends, Garrett Staten, he hit into a 2-ball, which was unfortunate. He had one of the biggest swings of the game. I think it was 2 or 3 innings earlier, which helped cut the lead in half and got the Torres up to third. I was hitting in the 9 hole, so they had the opportunity to flip the lineup back over and get it to where Bryce and LeBron would be up with a good situation to hit. And then I fouled off, took a couple borderline pitches that sometimes I'll swing at, which I wouldn't have been able to do anything with. And I got the 3-2 pitch, and I didn't think that they were going to want to walk me to bring Fowler up at the top of the order. So I was just ready for a pitch in the zone, and I made good contact with it and had a really good swing.
Yeah, really good swing. The ball went a long way. A 2-run homer that gives Alabama the advantage. Osmer gets it done in the 9th inning to make sure Alabama gets that win. Just was that one of the best celebrations you've had, not just with a home run, but once that ball game was over, knowing you had the home run that was the difference.
Yeah, if you ask anyone, they know I'm not a huge rah-rah excited guy, but whenever I hit home plate, I got really, really excited for the first time in a good, I'm excited all the time, but I don't really ever show it, but I showed it there for a minute or two.
Yeah, that really was a good celebration, good moment, and then it seemed like once Alabama had that win, good momentum the rest of the series. Even the next night, you had another big hit, a 2-run double.
Yes, sir, just ultimately not understanding that, it doesn't matter the one day if you're 0 for 4 or if you're 4 for 4. It actually does not matter at all the next day. You just got to show up and be able to help your team win and produce however you can. And I got a good opportunity of a good pitch to hit, and in a situation where we needed to get some runs in, and I just executed.
Certainly did. So the Crimson Tide sweep Missouri. Now you still have 3 series left to go in SEC play, starting with Vanderbilt coming up this weekend. Is this a good momentum right now for the Crimson Tide rolling in that series?
Yes, sir. I like where our team is right now. We obviously had a little 3 or 4 week stretch where we didn't play what I would say would be our best baseball, but we were still in games, playing well together, and we played really good opponents. I mean, playing at Alex Box Stadium was really, really hard. It was one of the more neat venues I've ever been to in my life, and just being able to stack wins together and be in a good situation to help us not necessarily host, but be in a tournament and be in a good situation to go and win and be in places that we haven't been in a long time.
It's certainly exciting. So that's all that's coming up for the Crimson Tide. Again, 3 series left to go in SEC play, SEC tournament, NCAA tournament after that. Let's bump it all the way back now to your journey. First of all, tell us where you're from.
I'm from Hartselle, Alabama, which is on I-65 between Birmingham and Nashville.
What'd you like about growing up there?
I absolutely love Hartselle. Hartselle's where I'm from. I absolutely love it. My parents went there. My grandparents went there. I mean, Hartselle means everything to me, and we had one of the best high school coaches ever, Coach Booth. I don't know if anyone knows who that is, but he's an absolute living legend. Rest in peace to that guy. And he meant everything to the city of Hartselle, and just being able to play for him and play it for Hartselle, which is a school that really, really means a whole lot to me. A lot like Alabama, just meant a whole lot to me.
Did you get to meet him pretty early on when you were getting into baseball, even years before you got to play for him?
My grandfather and him have been best friends for a long time, and he always wanted me to be around baseball, so I was around all the time.
Pretty good baseball culture there, right? I mean, you grew up with some really good players.
Yes, sir. We my junior year of high school, we were very, very good. We won a state championship, which meant a whole lot. It was the first one Hartselle's won since 2013. So it meant a whole lot to me in order to do that with some of my lifelong friends, which is a memory I'll cherish forever.
Who are some of the guys that you played with that maybe we've seen in SEC play or even around this campus?
I played my junior year and senior year. JT Blackwood was on our team, who's a reliever on our team. Peyton Steele and JoJo Williamson were freshmen on that team, or freshmen this year, who were a year younger than me. So I was sandwiched between 2 guys. JT Blackwood went to Wallace State, but he was unbelievable in high school too. He just was – not a lot of people know this about him, but he was a really, really, really good high school quarterback. He could really spin the rock.
Absolutely. Did you play football at all?
I played football. I was not very great at football. I just – kind of played it because I really liked the coach and wanted to be around and play with my best friends every day.
That's certainly good. Where'd you get the nickname Bull?
So whenever I was a little kid, my grandfather, they had the little jumper cables you'd hook to the door, like you'd sit in, and I'd just jump in them all day. That's all I ever wanted to do. I'd just jump up and down in them all the time. So my grandfather originally called me Bullfrog. That's where it originally came from. My mom still calls me Bullfrog to this day. And then whenever I was 5 or 6 or 7 years old, I grew up and got a little bit bigger than, and I was a good significant size, bit bigger than most kids. So it got shrink the bull. And then now nobody calls me Coleman. Whenever I hear Coleman, I'm like, oh, that's my name.
Yeah, so no baseball guys ever. Yeah, it's always
Yeah,
Bull.
it's always been Bull. Ever since I've got here, everyone's always called me that, and it's just what I've been known and been called my whole life.
That's really cool. So you have the Hartselle, the small town experience growing up. Was Alabama football a big part of your life growing up? Were you an Alabama fan?
My dad is a huge Alabama fan. My uncle's a huge Alabama fan. We have a whole lot of people that around where I'm from and in my family that are huge Alabama fans. Shoot, one of my cousins' name's Bear Whitlock, so I think his full name's Bear Bryant Whitlock. So that explains what type of fans the Mizells, Whitlocks, and Hembrys were.
Absolutely. Do you remember some games here in this stadium? What was your favorite football memory?
My favorite football memory would probably have to be I'm gonna be completely honest. I didn't watch a whole lot of football growing up. Whenever I was a kid, I had very, very little interest in it, and what was the year that they played Clemson in the national championship and Kenyon Drake ran that long touchdown?
I believe that was a 15-year.
That was one play that I can remember, and it stands out to me. And they opened up the second half with an onside kick. Yeah, I'll probably have to say that one because it was. Not a lot of people in my family really like Dabo Swinney, so they really, really, really like to stick it to him.
Absolutely. Well, that's certainly good to have. And with being an Alabama fan, were you kind of thinking as you're playing well at Hartselle High School, if I can get a call from Alabama, that's going to be my school?
Yes, sir. I always had wanted to stay in state so I could be around all of my friends and all the stuff like that and be able to go see them and go back to Hartselle and do stuff like that. So it would be Alabama and, well, the other school in the state that I absolutely despise more than anything. So it was not always just always Alabama, but I had a very good idea that I would love to play here.
And then did you take many other recruiting visits, or were you pretty much focused once you heard interest?
So whenever I was going around it, that was whenever COVID had shut down pretty much everything. So it was really hard to do it. So I went to Auburn because the guy from Hartselle High School had played there. Garrett Wade, he took me around Auburn, and it was a nice campus, but I could not force myself to wear orange and blue. I would absolutely hate it. One of the coolest stories I have is whenever I was talking to Butch Thompson and Gabe Gross at Auburn. My dad was like, hey, I really, really, really like y'all guys. I think y'all are doing a good job with what y'all are doing, but you will never, ever, ever catch me wearing blue and orange. He said, I'll go to every game and support him, but I hope y'all lose every game, and I hope he goes out and plays well and y'all lose every game.
I bet they appreciate his honesty, though, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, that's really good. So with all that in mind, it sounded like it was a pretty easy decision. What was National Signing Day like once you got to celebrate the fact you were coming here?
It was awesome, not ultimately for the fact of I was officially going to be able to play at Alabama, but the fact that all of my family was able to be there and all of my friends from high school were there to be able to celebrate that moment with me, which meant a lot more than anything. I mean, any swing you take is awesome, but everyone's going to remember you for how you treat people and what you do with your friendships and family and how you treat everyone.
Well, it's special. You get to sign with Alabama, and I imagine that was leading into the spring of 2023. Alabama has coaching change during that season and then goes on this great run towards the Super Regionals. Did you keep up with the team, everything they went through?
Yes, sir. I was actually at the regional final game against Troy, so that was a really, really cool experience, and it was an absolutely packed out stadium. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. I absolutely love this.
And then the very next game that was played for Alabama in that stadium, you're in uniform. Did that blow your mind?
Yes, sir. It was a different experience, and a lot of people don't understand this, but even just having the ability to wear the jersey, there's millions and millions of people who would be able to knock a door down in order to be able to do that, and just taking it every day and keeping it to where you can understand how everything's going and be able to be grateful for the opportunities and the talent that God gave you.
Well, you were recruited by one coaching staff, and then we mentioned the transition. Rob Vaughn, his staff comes in. What was it like getting to know those guys for the first time?
It was very nice. Coach Vaughn's one of the nicest people on this planet, in my opinion. He does a really good job of not ultimately just as a baseball coach, which he does a really, really good job, but he does a really good job of like caring about you and understanding what values different people have and being able to relate with them on not a player coach level, but as a friendship type of level.
And he's kind of an offensive-minded head coach as well, but Anthony Papio really controls the offense, works on the hitting. What have you enjoyed getting to work with him the most on about your game?
He's just been really, really good. I tell everyone the best coach on our coaching staff's Anthony Papio, in my opinion. He knows way, way, way too much about hitting, way too much. And I try not to think a whole lot about anything, but he does a really good job with me and everyone in order to help us be able to perform at the highest level, along with like Mikey White. A lot of people don't understand. He helps us a whole lot. He played that within that uniform and was very successful here. And just having that mind to be able to bounce thoughts off of and be able to hear it from a different perspective on things. Garrett Wood won a national championship at Ole Miss, which not very, very, very few people can say that they were able to do that, which is a very, very helpful resources to have along with the coaching staff that we have.
And speaking of resources, how about just all the technology they can use as well? They're not just flipping you balls in the batting cages. I mean, they can have some computer programs, TrackMan details. I mean, does that all help you out?
I know absolutely nothing about that stuff. I just kind of go out there and hit, but Coach Pap knows everything and everything about that play. He could probably write the program for it, and he just gives us the information that I need, and I just go out there with confidence that I can succeed with myself.
And then as a freshman, you were able to play some for the Crimson Tide, handful of at-bats, but it wasn't probably as much as you would have hoped, especially with veteran outfielders coming in. I mean, the entire starting outfielder came in via the transfer portal, all upperclassmen a year ago. How'd you stay patient knowing that your at-bats were going to be few and far between, but you wanted to get better as a freshman?
Just understanding that every person has a timeline for their own. Like, I forgot what Wyatt Langford at Florida was. I think he's hitting in the 3-hole right now for the Texas Rangers, and he had 8 at bats his freshman year. And ultimately, knowing that it doesn't really matter, but obviously you want to be in there, but just showing up every day and trying to get better with any situation that you can. Knowing, well, obviously everyone will want to be first team All SEC as a freshman, but knowing that your timeline is different than everyone else's. Like, for example, Gage Miller, no one knew about him before he got here, and he was one of our best players last year and made himself a lot of money last year. And just understanding like that timeline for him was his junior year. Every different person has a timeline, like it could, and you never know when it is, but just staying ready whenever your time's called and being able to perform, and knowing that if you go out there, you prepared yourself and being able to tell yourself, I did everything I can in this moment in order to succeed.
And then did that really motivate you going into even, summer last year and the fall work you did to make sure you had a larger role in this team?
Yes, sir. Just I talked to all of our coaches about it, and I was like, I'll do whatever we need to do in order to help us win. I can do. If it's pinch hitting, if it's doing whatever, I'm up for it. I want us to win. I want Alabama to be good. I want all of that to be priority one before my individual success.
That's really good. That's exactly how it kind of played out this season. You're able to work your way into the starting lineup pretty early. And I think a huge reason why the coaching staff trusted you, yes, you were getting hits, but the main thing you were doing, you were getting on base, whether you're getting hit by a pitch, drawing walks. Do you take a lot of pride in your ability to know the strike zone, know when to get on base?
Yes, sir. My brother texted me in the middle of the season that I went like a 2 or 3 game stretch where I had like 6 or 7 walks, and he texted me. He's like, I'm gonna start having to call you Moneyball Mizell. Like, it seems like you had like the highest walk rate of anyone in this world, but just understanding that the pitchers in this league are so good, and you're only probably going to get one or two pitches, one maybe two pitches in at bat that you can do something with, and if it's not that pitch, just not getting yourself out, which I have the tendency to do sometimes because I get really stubborn and want to swing the bat. But understanding that walks are what gets you on base and what helps your team win. Solo home runs don't kill you, but if there's a walk in front of it, and a crooked number is a whole lot better than a solo home run, which is awesome. And I take pride in being able to get on base as much as I can for our team, because getting on base is what in turn gets you runs. So just being able to do that, and yeah.
And especially if you're getting on base in front of a guy like Justin LeBron, that's pretty good, right?
Oh yeah, he's a phenomenal player. He does things every day that like you're like, wow, that was unbelievable. And you take it for granted whenever you see it every day, and not everyone gets the opportunity to do that every day. I tell everyone this, whenever there's one hitting that backhand hole, there's just about a guarantee that it's going to be an unbelievable play. And he's one of my better friends, and he does not ultimately. Everyone talks about how he is with baseball, and he's a phenomenal player, and everything about that is, I mean, it's understandable, but he goes out and treats people the right way. I've never seen him be disrespectful to any kids or coaches. He's always very respectful of everyone, which is what I value a whole lot more than 15 home runs and playing shortstop at a very high level.
Yeah, pretty cool when you were batting leadoff to get on base for him. What was it like when you were batting third in the order? He was batting second, and you got to watch him. I mean, a lot of times
I was hitting with the bases empty every time.
Well, yeah.
I feel like every time I was on deck, he had a grand slam.
Well, that's superstar level stuff. That's good to see. But a lot of times, like, even if he got a grand slam, he had like 10 pitch at bats, fouling off pitch after pitch. How valuable is that when you're waiting on deck trying to learn the pitcher?
Oh, not ultimately for the fact of being on deck and trying to view what the pitcher's being able to do. It's just being able to get starters out of the game and being able to stack at bats together. If that starter's having to throw 25 pitches in the first inning, he's setting it up to where he may have to come out in the fourth or fifth inning, and then they have to throw their bullpen arms in the fifth inning versus the eighth inning. And if they come back in this game, we've already seen them once, and if they throw a lot of pitches that game, they're done for the series. And just ultimately being able to help us stack and win games, which is all that really matters, is unbelievable. Which, I mean, he does a really good job of it.
Yeah, he really does. So you guys came in as freshmen together, still relatively younger guys on the team. How much do you look up to some of the veterans that we've got on this group?
Oh, yeah. I tell everyone my two of my three best friends on this team, Garrett Staten and Will Hodo, are absolute veterans. G-Stat, he's played 5 years of college baseball. He's been around the block a time or two, and he does everything he can in order to help me, not only as a person, but as not only as a player, but as a person. He's an ultimate guy, and everyone says that everyone that ever says anything about Will Hodo says he's the best guy ever, and it's very, very true. He's always been so nice to me. Not only whenever I wasn't playing last year, he was always so nice to me, and he's one of my mom's favorite players. So
why?
Because just that whole situation. Whenever we were getting recruited, Coach Jackson had told my mom whenever we were having our visits that she wanted someone that was super nice in order to be my visit host, and I think Coach Jackson's quote was, "There's 1% people in this world, 2% people in this world, but Will Hodo's a whole person," which is very true. He does a very good job of treating people the right way and treating everyone the same, no matter who you are.
He's a heck of a ball player too.
Yes, very good player.
Yeah, I mean, left side with power, you guys are pretty similar in a spot like that. So all that has made for what seems like a really enjoyable group to be around. And do you guys love the fact, too, that you guys are never out of a single game, it seems like?
Oh, yeah. But just being like what I was telling you earlier in the show, just being able to stack innings together and put crooked numbers up and not having to be able to chase. I mean, obviously, everyone wants to have a 10-run inning where you're hitting home run after home run after home run, but that's not very realistic against the level of talent that we play, and just being able to stack at bats together and be able to run off our plan that we have and be able to be successful as a team as a whole. And then obviously you want your individual success to be good, but if there's a situation where you got runners on second base, nobody out, you don't need to get big, and you need to try and do everything you can to get that runner to third base in order to help to where the guy behind you can help do his job in order to help the team win.
Well, after you hit the home run this past Thursday night to help Alabama win Game 1 against Missouri, you talked in the post-game press conference about Dr. Lobenthal and some of the advice he had told you. Can you share that with us?
I think it was before the second game against Tennessee. I was sitting there talking to him, and he was like, "Coleman, I want to share something with you." He's like, "One of the things that I really, really enjoy about you and why I cherish our relationship together is like this time last year you had 21 at bats and you came up and talked to me and tried to pick my brain and were always super nice to me. You're hitting in the 3-hole today and are still the same," which is something that I ultimately he told me that, and I went out to throw, and I was like, ultimately that's what really matters in life is how you treat people and what you do in order to affect people and how people view you. Like I think I said in the post-game interview, I was like, in 5 years, no one's going to remember what your stat line is on April 25th, but if you ask them about you, they're going to remember how you treat them, which is something that Dr. Labenthal brought up to me, and my mom has always told me my whole life. So, I mean, it was something that really stuck with me and something that I live by.
So much of that from your family?
Oh, yeah. My grandmother is the absolute nicest person in the world. She will do anything for anyone, and my mom's super nice. My dad will literally do anything he can to help anyone. It's just something that we pride ourselves on.
That's really good. Well, you're wearing an Alan Jackson t-shirt here to the interview today, and you probably have had some of the more entertaining country music selections as walk-up music. So, I mean, how much is country music part of your life?
Oh, yeah. Whenever I'm not at the ball field, that's what I'm doing all the time. I started a documentary on Alan Jackson's life, and I was like, well, I know most all of this stuff already, but it's really cool to understand and learn and be able to learn as much stuff about that I can. I mean, I was listening to George Strait, Alan Jackson. I love it. It's so much fun. It's awesome. I mean, Alan Jackson is, if anyone, you can ask anyone on the team if anything with that Alan Jackson fiddle comes on, I know every word immediately.
That's pretty good. Do you like any of the new stuff these days?
I like some of the newer guys. I really like Zach Top. He's a young guy. He just released his last album last April, which was really good. And one of the things that I'm not going to be able to go to, it's very, very sadly, and I'm really, really upset about it. But he's opening up like 2 of the 3 last concerts that Alan Jackson's ever doing in his life. And I would do anything to go to those because it's like the new guy who I really like and my favorite guy of all time.
Wow, where are those concerts going to be? What time?
I think
SEC or
I think one of them's in like Charlottesville, one of them's in like Miami, but they're all during baseball season. But yeah, Alan Jackson's on his last call tour. He has CMT disease, and they don't want this is his absolute last go around, and I'm very, very upset that I won't be able to go see him.
I bet. So are we going to hear an Alan Jackson song as one of your walk-ups at any point? Or what goes into that selection?
Possibly. Whenever I was playing this summer in Minnesota, I had where I come from Alan Jackson, and of course I was up in Mankato, Minnesota, and not a whole lot of people knew who Alan Jackson was.
Cornbread and chicken. Yeah.
Yeah, not a whole lot of people knew who Alan Jackson was, which was I was glad to be able to teach some of them a thing or two about Alan Jackson, which was awesome.
That's really good. Speaking of summer ball, when you planning on playing again this year? Where are you
Yes, sir. I'll play with the Falmouth Commodores in Cape Cod, which I'm looking forward to. I've always heard great things about up there, and I want to be able to see that side of the country and be able to meet some people up there.
Yeah, it's a great experience. You're going to have a lot of fun with that. Finally, this Alabama baseball team, 2025, again, 3 weeks still left to go in the regular season, SEC tournament, NCAA tournament after that. What do you hope Alabama fans see when they watch this group down the stretch?
A group that does everything that they can in order to help us win and do things that we can in order to just be as successful as we can be. I want and have the ability to go out and let everyone, whenever they leave the ballpark, be able to say, we may not have won today, but they played as hard as they can and gave everything that they can out there. I mean, that's all you can really ask for. You can't really. I mean, obviously, everyone wants to win, and that's all that really that a lot of people really care about. But if you go out there and do everything that you can in order to win, I mean, and play as hard as you can, and you come up on the wrong side of it, I mean, you can live with yourself. But versus like if you lose and you go out there and you feel like you beat yourself. If you go out there and a team beats you and they play better than you, and you play hard and you play the right way and you just get beat, then that's just the way this game is.
Pretty motivating, too, to try and get back to the Joe for more games. I mean, at the moment, you only have 3 games left on the schedule, but a regional hosting bid is still within reach for this team.
Yes, sir. With the addition of Texas and Oklahoma, I don't understand. I've always been understood from the older guys that if you get to 16 conference wins, you have a really good shot of hosting. But I don't know how the rules are now, because there's still only so many SEC schools that can host regionals. So I mean, just ultimately being able to be in a good spot in order to where at the end of the season we're playing our best baseball, which is all we can really hope for. Whether it's we're playing at UC Irvine or we're playing here. I mean, I would obviously love for it to be here because I really, really like this place, and I'd rather sleep in my bed whenever the game's over and just going out and doing everything we can in order to be able to play in our best baseball once the SEC tournament comes around and getting hot at the right time.
We look forward to seeing that. Well, Coleman, Mizell, thank you for the time you've given us here today on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Best of luck down the stretch. Roll
yes,
Tide.
sir. Roll Tide.
Welcome to more where that came from.
Go, 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 go. Proud of you guys.
Welcome to the edge of your seat. Welcome to NASCAR.
Well, Coleman Mizell certainly helped Alabama to a sweep against Missouri in baseball. The softball team also had a sweep against Missouri. Over this past week, the Crimson Tide Sports Network social media platforms were very busy with booth cams streaming live, presented by MLB The Show 25. Ethan Carabin produces all of that, and he put together some of our best of moments as I was joined in the broadcast booth for baseball by former Crimson Tide player David Kindred. Tom Canterbury was on the call for all the softball calls you hear coming up in a moment, but we love our booth cams. They're starting to run out of them for this season. So here on Crimson Drive, we wanted to give you a best of this past weekend, baseball and softball sweeping Missouri. Here's our perspective from the booth cam presented by MLB The Show 25.
Lefty on lefty, the pitch is swung on and drilled high, deep right field. This one's to the right field Rangers. A 2-run homer for Will Hodo. And he's got the Crimson Tide on the board in the bottom of the second. 2 in scoring position, 2 gone. Tying run to the plate. Alabama down 5-2 in the 6th. First pitch. Garrett Staten swings and hits a high drive going deep in the air right center field. This is well back, and this one is gone. Garrett Staten, 1 swing of the bat. He has tied this game at 5 in the bottom of the 6th. Now the 3-2. Swing, and here's a high drive. Deep in the air to right center field. Coleman Mizell has hovered! 2-run shot. Crimson Tide leads 7-5 in the bottom of the 8th. Tide will overshift to the right side. Carson Osmer is ready. Ahead in the count, 0-2. Already 2 strikeouts this inning. The 0-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Alabama wins 7-5 against Missouri. An unforgettable Thursday night at the Joe.
Wow. What an effort tonight. You get punched in the face with 5 runs in the first. You just start to slowly pick away for that lead. Alabama does it with a lot of offensive prowess and home runs by Staten, Hodo, and Mizell to propel themselves.
Now the 0-1. Swing, and here's a high drive deep in the air to right field. Seals all the way back, and it's gone. Cade Snell with a 2-run homer, and the Crimson Tide have a 2-0 advantage in the bottom of the 3rd. Breaking ball hammered high, deep left field. This is well back, and this one's to the scoreboard. Solo homer, Jason Torres. That makes it Alabama 7 and Missouri 3. Bases empty with 2 gone. Myers with the 0-2. Swing and a foul tip, strike 3, ball game over, and Alabama takes the series against Missouri with a 7-3 win under the Friday night lights at Sewell Thomas Stadium.
Very good night for the Alabama Crimson Tide. It all started with Riley Quick in a very dominating performance, sprinkled in with some very good offense, back into the game, controlled by Braylon Myers to finish it out for a 7-3 win against the Missouri Tigers.
Fastball swung on and drilled. High, deep right field, and gone! Will Hodo with his second homer of this series, a 3-run shot to right. And in the bottom of the second, it's now Alabama 3, Missouri nothing. Pitch. Swing, and he crushes it. High, deep right field, all the way to the Ragers. 2-run homer, Bryce Fowler. Alabama has now a 6-0 lead in the bottom of the second, still nobody out. 1-0 is swung on and popped up. That's high, going into shallow right center. Fowler drifts in. Fowler makes the catch. This ball game, this series is over as Alabama completes a sweep of Missouri with a run rule, 12-1 win in 7 innings on this perfect Saturday in Tuscaloosa.
Now we're ready. The 0-2. Johnson with a ground ball. That is going to be off of the shortstop's glove into center field. Vandegrift will now round third. Here comes the throw. It's not going to be in time. And Lauren Johnson with the RBI, bringing home Audrey Vandegrift and the Crimson Tide as the 1-0 lead. It was a diving attempt by Updegrove, and the fact that she slowed down the ball by getting a piece of it with her glove made it impossible for Langer to come up and throw out or even have a real good opportunity to throw out Audrey Vandegrift. Tigers have not had a runner get past second base today. Elisab with a fly ball, deep right field. That one's way back. Way gone! Brooke Elisab with a solo homer to the Brickyard. 2-1 pitch. That's a ground ball to second. They flip it to second for 1, and Alabama turns a double play to finish off the inning and finish off the game. A complete game shutout for Jocelyn Brisky. And the Crimson Tide, who has turned a program record number of double plays this season, turns one more. And Alabama comes away with the series sweep in a shutout victory, 2-0 over Missouri here in game number 3.
I'm Kayla Beaver. This is Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
Tune in to the NASCAR Cup Series this weekend at Texas Motor Speedway, coming up on Sunday, May 4th at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1. Well, we always have the booth cam up and running for baseball and softball home games. Unfortunately, both teams will be coming up on the road this week. Maybe we'll get some highlights. Stay tuned for that. We do want to take a look at what's coming up on our upcoming schedule. Here's a look at what's ahead for us on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Again, we're going to be on the road starting with softball later tonight. 5 o'clock, Alabama softball will start its final regular season series against South Carolina at 5 p.m. the next 2 days, and then wrapping up at 11 a.m. on Saturday. For the baseball team, we'll be in Nashville, Tennessee, taking on the Vanderbilt Commodores, 6 p.m. on Friday, 2 o'clock on Saturday. A little later start time coming up on Sunday for a 3 o'clock first pitch, Alabama against Vanderbilt to wrap up that series. Then the baseball team will be home the following weekend against Georgia. We will have more booth cams presented by MLB The Show 25 coming up for that. Make sure you follow us at UA_CTSN for the very latest on these games coming up this weekend, plus other news and notes from around Alabama athletics. Follow us on all of our social media platforms at UA_CTSN. It's going to wrap up this edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Huge thank you to our guest at the beginning of the show, Austin Cindric from Team Penske, talking about his win at Talladega, plus interacting with Alabama football players. And then a fun conversation in this room earlier with Coleman Mizell. Best of luck to him and the Crimson Tide moving forward with what's coming up against Vanderbilt this weekend in baseball. Special thanks as well to Lexi Graber from our NIL office for setting up that interview, as well as Ethan Carabin. He produced all the content you see here on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, as well as our booth camps presented by MLB The Show 2025. For everybody at the Crimson Tide Sports Network, this is Roger Hoover saying thank you for watching Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Have a great weekend, everyone. Roll Tide.